Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to another edition of Noles Anonymous. Today, I'm your host, Drake, and with me in the stream yard, I got the one and only Mr. David Wise. David, ¿qué pasa, mi amigo?
Drake, it's been too long.
Way
This
too
feel,
long, man.
this feels right. Just want to talk some ball. It's right around the corner. Today's a great day.
It is a fantabulous day, and that fantabulous is a real word, folks. Look it up. As you know, we used to start Noles Anonymous back in the heyday, then went over to Locked On Seminoles, but now we are back on the YouTubes with our own Noles Anonymous, bringing that back. But we're not here to talk about that. We're going to talk about what each and every single one of you are excited about. The Seminoles kick off the 2024 season against Georgia Tech in the greater country of Ireland. Shout out to the Aer Lingus Stadium. How do you pronounce that, Dave?
Weird word. I don't know. I don't love that word. It's in like Aviva Stadium, I think.
I mean, Viva los Seminoles, right? But hey, folks, we are here to talk about the entire 2024 season. And Dave, I feel like, we start off on the right foot, but I will pull up the schedule momentarily. Dave, before we dive into it, how do you feel after the summer that we've had heading into this football year?
Well, I mean, I think it's probably the most question marks I feel like we've gone into a season with. We've had the luxury really of Jordan Travis bringing some level of stability, if nothing else, the last couple of years. Like, he's going to do crazy things. At least we'll be all right knowing the most important position set. Take nothing away from DJ. I think he's got a lot of potential, but that's the name of the game this year, right? Potential. A lot of speed at the wide receiver position, for example.
So
We'll
fast.
see what that amounts to.
We'll see what that amounts to. I mean, they're replacing big play names like a Johnny Wilson, like a Keon Coleman. And then defensively, how are you going to replace, players like a Kalen DeLoach, a Jared Verse on the defensive line? And I mean, Akeem Dent, who was not, a star that we all
Unheralded.
thought he would be. He was probably your most solid and most dependable player in the secondary. But let's go forward, Dave. Let's pull up the schedule as I have right here from FBSschedules.com. We start off August 24th, week 0 at the Aviva Stadium in
Woo.
Dublin, Ireland. I know part of the gang will be out there. Myself and you will be back here in the States because we are broke AF from my wedding that's happened and your wedding that is going to be happening.
Yep.
So, Dave, Georgia Tech, I think, under year 3, I think, Brent Key, the former defensive lineman at Georgia Tech. He was the DC when Jeff Collins was there. Jeff Collins was fired 2 years ago. This is year 3. They're starting to build up a little bit better. And also, they have a quarterback by the name of Haynes King, the
Yeah.
former Texas A&M quarterback, who last year, not too bad. Actually,
The
wasn't too
Hurricane
bad.
Killer.
No, the Hurricane Killer. So, Dave, looking into this game, I know you're one of those people, and myself included. You don't like these week 0 games. You don't
No.
like these games that are played overseas. You don't like this the travel. It's week 0, could be sleepy. You could prepare for this game, but you have AC play the week right after with Boston College. So, Dave, how do you feel heading into this game?
Well, again, we're going to find out a lot about this team. Like, this team's going to continue to get better as the season goes along because you're bringing in so many new pieces. So I don't have this like overriding fear that we're going to see some things we don't like. And then, oh, well, there goes this season. That's what we can expect. That's not really my concern. My concern is this is, I think, a Georgia Tech team that's a bit underrated. And we're just kind of, I think a lot of fans are making the foregone conclusion that that's a W, whether it's pretty or not. Um, week 0 brings weird things. Um, international games bring weird things. And I think it's always those games that you just kind of don't really worry too much about that you really should be. That team's
Mhm.
better than you think. And we're figuring out more than I think they are.
Yeah, and also if you look to see the players that they did lose some players last year. I'm heading into this year, right? But also they brought in several, talented transfers. And also, do you know who the offensive coordinator is actually at Georgia Tech?
I feel like you're going to tell me.
It is former Heisman Trophy quarterback of Florida State, Mr. Chris Wanke, in his 2nd year. And not only that, I mean, they have players also as well over there at Georgia Tech. I know Ayobami Tafasi, the former defensive lineman from FSU, is now on that roster. And they also have players such as Romello Height from USC, Warren Burrell, Tennessee. So you have some big SEC players that transportal, 2024 a
Mm.
lot. It's been able to help even the playing field for a lot of these not only programs that you don't see sustain success for a very long time, but also helps these coaches in years 2 and year 3 kind of build the culture that they want, as we've seen Mike Norvell here at Florida State. Now, Dave, we'll do the win-loss thing obviously after each game. What do you think? Oh, just quick, answer. Is this a W for the Noles, or is this a game that, quite frankly, it's got you a little bit worrisome? We may be dropping at week 1. Sorry,
All right.
week 0 to be correct.
To be very clear, I'm worried about that game. To be clear, also,
To be
I
clear, you're
don't.
worried about every game, Dave.
I, I'm not really worried about playing Miami or Florida this year, but we'll get there. Yeah, this look. If there's a time to catch this Florida State team, it's as early as possible. It is
Mhm.
week 0. That is the very best time for an opponent to catch us while we're still figuring things out. Um, I think we're going to see enough from DJU. I think he's going to do enough. I think we still have enough talent, both in the backfield and at the receiver position, to put enough points up to win that game. I think our defense is going to be a lot better than people are thinking. It's going to be so hard to run the ball on this team. So if we know you're throwing it, I like our chances with the secondary. I don't think they're going to be able to put up enough points on us to actually win the game, but I think it's going to be awfully close. I think we're going to have some conversations after the game about, what the hell do we need to fix going forward? But I think we do enough to get the job done.
I mean, I agree. I think it's gonna be a lower scoring game. I think
Right.
it's a game where DJU's gonna acclimate himself. Actually, Barrow being the first game with Norvell's scheme under the lights with these new wide receivers. Malik Benson, we know who he is, but wide receivers, there's another name is going to have to emerge hopefully this year. It's going to be Hakeem Williams, or maybe we see a freshman like a Lowain
Right.
McCoy kind of, step up and show up. But I think the running backs here, like a Lawrence Toafili, Keziah Holmes, are probably going to make a name for themselves, and Roydell Williams. So to me, this is a game that low scoring game, so probably won't be covering the spread. But
Yeah.
quite frankly, for week 0, I just want to win the
Right.
game, enjoy yourself in Dublin. Have some Guinness, have some haggis or whatever the hell else they eat over there, but this is a win for me. So right now we're 1-0 heading into Boston College. Sorry, heading back to Tallahassee to play the Boston College Eagles and a team that Dave, I
Yeah.
remember you texting me and saying, "Who is this quarterback?" And that was Mr. Thomas Castellanos. I am over at my well, I think where was I, Dave? I think I was doing the food for my wedding. I was doing the food tasting, and then I looked at the score. I was like, "What the hell is going on?" So, Dave, explain to folks what we should be expecting from Boston College with that Thomas Castellanos.
Okay, so if you didn't watch the game last year, first of all, congratulations. You did yourself a favor. Thomas Castellanos is the fastest man that's ever lived.
He's so
It's not.
fast. I saw his plays. Yeah.
It's not like I'm trying to think of another example of a quarterback that's done this to us, who's not like the fastest guy in the world, but somehow just when he does run, it just works against us. It feels like no matter what the personnel is or the coaching staff is, it feels like for some reason Florida State is always susceptible, like more so than anybody else, even to running quarterbacks. And look, the guy made some throws last year too. He was just extremely impressive.
He's got a good arm.
He does. So that game is going to be, again, that's not the greatest team. You should, if you match up Florida State's roster and coaching staff and just pure talent against Boston College's, it's a complete mismatch. But again, your defense is still going to be figuring some things out with new personnel. I still think that's the great strength of the team. Your offense still, got one game under its belt, thankfully. And didn't say this before, but don't underestimate the importance to Mike Norvell specifically of having that helmet communication. Being in
Mhm.
DJ's ear is going to be super helpful early in the season, especially. So again, scary game. Different for different reasons than Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is, very first experience with all these guys together. This one's more so I worry way more about what that quarterback can do to you. But I don't feel like there's this huge risk of dropping our first home game there. Just you're gonna see some things you don't like.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be more of a growing pain type of thing, and also like you're saying, we just start. I don't think Adam Foolish has been here. It's like he's just not the best against running quarterbacks. And you know what? That's okay as long as you get the dub. It's
Right.
also going to be a homecoming for the artist formerly known as Trayshawn Ward, aka T Ward, back over here from Boston College, and also Bill O'Brien's second, I think, first ACC game actually heading back to college football. So that's also going to be growing pains actually on their end. But I agree with you, Dave. I think this is a game where it is going to show how, I guess, essential and great having Mike Norvell in your ear in the helmet communication is going to be for this year. And it's also going to make us wonder, like, how good would this team would have been last year if Mike Norvell was able to, do the same thing last year with Jordan Travis under the helm.
That's right.
But let's move forward. I think we got a bye after that because that game is on Monday night on Labor Day during Labor Day weekend. The next game is going to be the Fighting Ryan Silverfelds. It is Mike Norvell's former team, the Memphis Tigers, heading to Tallahassee. So back-to-back home games.
Yeah.
Actually, also on ESPN, I think it's a noon kickoff. Dave, what are you thinking for this game?
Okay, so I don't know how much people are paying attention to the others receiving votes of the AP or coaches polls, but Memphis is one of the first 5 teams in there of the others receiving votes. They're a top 30-ish quality team, despite Mike Norvell no longer being their coach. They've been doing all right still. They still bring in some decent talent over there at Memphis, and eh, they're probably going to score some points. So, not necessarily against Florida State's defense, but in general, that's a team that's probably going to score some points. And again, it's one of those situations where we're coming off a bye week, right? And it's not like after we play them, we're looking at playing Clemson right away. We have Cal, thankfully, right afterwards. So it's a spot coming off a bye week and with not too much ahead of you that I'm not super worried about. I don't expect Mike Norvell to be a huge douchebag in this game and try to put 70 on his former team. Seems like that's not his kind of thing. He built that from the ground up. I'm
Mhm.
sure he feels like and loves that school to a degree. But that is, I mean, it's again, look, it's a huge talent mismatch. If you're rolling, if you have DJU comfortable by that point, you could put up that could be your chance to really, really get the offense, feeling good about themselves, put some numbers up, and head into the rest of the ACC slate ready to roll.
Especially being with Memphis, I think this is the first year for the new defensive coordinator. So another team that's going to actually probably going with some growing pains of their own. I don't recall whether or not the coach is actually from the staff or it's been an internal kind of promotion. But I think this Memphis team, it does show you kind of how with Mark Norvell's coaching tree, how good of a coach Ryan Silverfeld is, right? So this is
Yeah.
probably going to be basically seeing a team that has been so focused on building themselves back up to where they were when Norvell was there and keeping it being consistently great. Now, the first year there were some warts; they struggled to get through, and also I think Ryan Silverfeld was also on the hot seat 2 seasons ago. But now
Right.
you're heading into year 5, and Memphis, they don't have the longest track record or pedigree as a premier football program. But the fact that they're back there after only being 5 years removed when Mike Norvell was there shows to how good this team is. Maybe not talent wise, like you're saying, but it's
Yep.
a very well coached football team, and they will always be in every single game. Now, I agree with you. This is a game where Mike Norvell's not going to put up 70, but this might be a game where you're able to flex your muscles a little bit, especially
Yep.
because you do have in my personal opinion, the game you have after this is actually kind of quite tough. Actually, no, sorry, not after this one, the one that follows Cal.
Yeah,
And to me,
that's what I
you just,
meant.
yeah, sorry, go
Like,
ahead.
you're in a 3-game home stretch here. You're in the middle of it. You have Cal coming up after that. You're coming off a bye week. You've had extra practice time. You've had a couple games against, I mean, thankfully not world beaters to get into a rhythm. So I think look, it's not a game where you're going to go out there and run practice, right? Like, you're not just going to be stupid in that game, but it is a game where I think you could probably run some things you'd like to see live from the playbook. Like, I think it's
Mhm.
one of those games where maybe Norvell can kind of see, okay, this works, this doesn't, more so than the first 2.
Agreed. So, but we both agree that it's a dub.
Yep. That's dub.
So we got 3-0, and then we also for the following week we have the Cal Golden Bears with Justin Wilcox, who I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm still kind of surprised that he's there, but also maybe that's more indicative of how Cal feels as a football school now. But hey, I'm not the one paying the checks for that. To
Right.
me, this game we don't need to spend too much time on it. Even though you look at their schedule, they go up against actually a top 25 FCS team week 1, which is something you don't typically want to do.
Yep.
Then you go play Auburn at Auburn against Hugh Freeze. And
Yep.
then you go play San Diego State. who shout out AJ Delphi. I think he's going to be the starting quarterback there. And then you come over to play us. So
Yep.
they're actually kind of having a tough start out of the gate for this. And to me, this isn't the game for them to get up for that. So to me, this is just equally as easy as the dub. And they'll play Miami after us too.
Right. Well, I think they have a bye week right after us, which
Yes, they do.
I don't think is the huge. Look, that shouldn't matter for our purposes in this game. This is just not a team that we should be struggling with. Now,
Mhm.
that's going to get clipped, and I'm going to end up eating those words, and we're going to end up, 17-14 or something. Just because I said that, that will be my fault. I take responsibility. But
I'm so
it's
proud of
not
you,
a,
Dave.
yeah,
Look at your
thank you.
growth. That's called growth, folks.
That is growth. And I don't know. I'm not super worried about that team, not super worried about that game. And look at those first 4 games. You have such an opportunity. I don't know that the schedule could have set up better for a first third of the season to ingratiate these new players and figure out what they're good at and what works and what doesn't and what their tendencies are. And the schedule just couldn't set up better for us. So I'm fully expecting by that Cal game, you to see an offense that's clicking and you to see a defense that's flying around to the ball. Like you're going to see the strengths of this team by that point, I think.
So this is where basically I think you're gonna say this is the first game where we're gonna be looking good fully as a unit.
Think so.
Okay. Well, folks, you're here to hear starting off 4-0. And then we're gonna get to the game I think actually might be the most interesting in that first month. And that's SMU. SMU, as you all know, Big 12, they're talking a lot of smack. We're actually playing over in Dallas. To me, SMU actually is a very sneaky, very good team.
Yep.
They also have a very good head coach in Rhett Lashley, the former Miami offensive coordinator, and also the former Auburn offensive coordinator. They also have a player by the name of Jalen Knighton, who is a great receiving back out of the backfield. So to me, this is a team that's going to score fast, score often, and it's going to probably be the most fun game to watch probably in that first month and a half before Clemson. So now,
Yep.
Dave, what do you think about this game? Because to me, this game, it's not worrisome, but it's definitely something that I think we've been overlooking a little bit as a fan base.
I would agree with you. So if you look back to the others receiving votes category, they are right before Memphis. They are number 29 in the country in the coaches poll. So they are a borderline top 25 quality team. Like you said, they have some quality talent there. Like Knighton was decent at Miami. And they have coaches that are going to try to score as many points as possible on you. That's their thing. So
That is their thing. And their defense actually also isn't that bad. I think their last year, they only had, I want to say, maybe 2 games where they allowed opponents to score more than 30 points. And I think one of
and
those teams was TCU.
it's an 11-3 team. Like, I mean, look, they went 8-0 in the AAC, so whatever. But still, I mean, that's a team that won 11 games last
Oh,
year.
you still won 11 games.
They know how to do the hard thing, the winning thing. So, that there's something to that. And I think you're going to need to score in this game. Like our defense again is I expect to be excellent. I expect it to be very difficult for teams to run the ball on us. But I don't necessarily think that they're going to be doing a ton of that anyways. I think they're going to throw the ball all over the place, including to their backs. And I think you're going to need to put up some points in this one, even with an excellent defense. So that's what I was saying. First 4 games couldn't set up better for DJ to get on the same page as our receivers and to really allow Norvell to open the playbook and run the game the way he wants rather than having to try to establish the run because the passing game's just not there yet.
So I'm not saying, this upcoming stretch of schedule is difficult. What I'm more kind of, I guess, I want to ask you is that if we don't see that, I guess, that click, that synergy between DJU and Mike Norvell by the time we play SMU, is that going to give you cause for concern for the rest of the season?
Well, I mean, you don't have to go past that game. If
No,
entering
I'm
SM,
saying, sorry, entering SMU.
yeah,
Yeah.
you don't even have to go past that game. If by SMU it looks sloppy and disorganized and unimproved on offense, I'm going to be really worried about winning that game because
What about middle of the road? Not even sloppy, just middle of the road, very just like, eh.
Well, I still think this is a team with so much talent on defense, and I think I mean, even you, I think, are at a place where you fully trust the coaching staff on defense. So
Yeah.
big step, Adam Fuller. weren't
Well,
as big, weren't his biggest fan, but look, you've come around. And I think there's enough on this defense that you're going to be able to win some games without necessarily having to put up a ton of points. But like I said, I'm expecting in that game you to need points, even with an excellent defense. So if it's looking middle of the road by that game, I think I'm going to be worried going in. I'm not saying I would project us to lose, even with it being an away game, but I would be concerned because, look, you're more than a third of the way into the season. It's time to nut up or shut up because right after that you're going to Clemson. So
well, no,
they're
Clemson's at
coming to
home.
us,
They're coming
right?
to us, which to me would be more poetic if DJ was able to go back to Clemson and just violate that rock. But anyways, but yeah, SMU to me is going to be a game where, for betting purposes, I probably would go with at whatever number SMU is at, because this is going to be kind of a down to the wire kind of game.
Right.
I'm not expecting a loss, but I do want to see where the chemistry is at between DJ and Mike, and that's kind of gets more what I'm going to be looking at. I still predict us to win here. I think we do start off 5-0, and that will be hype because then we'll be having Clemson, probably two ranked teams at Doak Campbell Stadium. Most likely it's going to be a night game. I don't know if that time, yes, the time to be announced at this time. Clemson, it's not the same Clemson, even though they still won 9-4 last year. I think they won the Gator Bowl. K Klubnik is still there. Dabo's never leaving. Garrett Riley came in, and I think you're starting to see that the problem is not the offensive coordinator, but it's the head coach that doesn't know how to coordinate an offense, or maybe also he's a little, what's the word I'm looking for? He lacks in evolving with the game, and
Yeah.
that's where it's starting to leave him by. But this Clemson's team is still Clemson. That defense is still rock solid. That secondary, excuse me, that secondary, God, that secondary, they're that ferocious, man. They're just taking my breath away.
Linebackers, man, it's always
And their
good.
and their linebackers are always damn good. This defense, quite frankly, Dave, this is a game that right now I have chalked up as an L. So I want you to convince me as to why this game is not an L.
I got you, baby bird. All right, so here's the deal. That is Clemson's first away game of the year. The Georgia game, it's a neutral site. It's in Alabama, which is basically a home game for Georgia.
Wait, is it really in Alabama?
Or sorry, Atlanta.
Yeah, it's basically a home
Yeah.
game.
So they
Whatever.
play.
Okay.
Look,
Yeah,
they're playing Georgia week 1. You're going to get some
that sucks.
beat up against that team. Like it's not a great situation. But look what happened when we played Alabama. I know it was kind of a fluke, but DeAndre Francois was knocked out for the whole season, almost right off rip. So things happen when you play against bigger, stronger players. Not that they're necessarily that much bigger and stronger than Clemson, but they're as big and strong as they get over at Georgia. So that's a tough way to start the season. They play NC State a few weeks later. That's going to be a really good team too. Um, they play Stanford right before us, and they play Wake right after. I think that Wake game is going to be a little tougher for them than I think a lot of people are thinking. But
We can't overlook Wake anymore. I hate it,
right,
but we can't.
that's the bottom line.
That's the
for
point.
me. Yep. So I think, look, Klubnik hasn't proved it to me yet. I'm still not convinced that he's this elite 5-star quarterback. He's made some good throws and good plays, but
He is good.
He's good.
He is not elite.
Yes. So far, I think he has every potential to be elite, but that's what
But
I've been thinking about DJU for 5 years now. And maybe he will this year. Maybe this is where it all, kind of comes together. Pretty good at Oregon State. So I do wonder, I can't imagine this being the case. Like I'm not a, elite level athlete. Even call myself an athlete.
no, you're not?
Big announcement here.
Oh,
But
God, shocker.
I do just wonder, like, if you're DJU and you're going up against your former team that you started with, if there's anything, in your mind, nerves, just weirdness about it. Not that you're not going to do everything to beat them, but it's a good team with a great defense, and it happens to be the team you played on for 3 years, started for, and were the leader of. So it is a really weird spot. I'm really happy that game's at home. I still have question marks with Clemson. They won't take transfers. They should have to address that wide receiver position, but didn't. I still don't know. That I want to continue facing their running back, but
Wish Shipley is still there?
he's probably a freshman still somehow. He's going to be there for 20 years, but
I could have sworn that kid went up.
please look this up. Actually, this is worth the time.
Okay, no, he's gone. He's gone. He's gone. I was like, I'm pretty sure he's gone, but no, he
Oh,
graduated.
okay, good. All
They
right.
had no,
Well,
they have a kid that could be better. I think it's Mafa, and
don't wanna
he's
hear it.
really damn
Oh,
good.
he is.
But
Yeah, true.
yeah,
Look, it, that game is. You're gonna be. I don't know that we'll be projected to win. Obviously, going to depend on if we start out 5-0 and Clemson probably drops to Georgia and whether they beat NC State. And it's a home game, so it'll probably be close to a pick 'em. Maybe we'll be a 3-point favorite. Who knows? It really should be that close of a game, and it will come down to who makes less mistakes or makes the big play in the big moment. And so that's where it all comes down to how well DJU and our new receivers and Mike Norvell are all meshing together. Because
mhm.
again, I'm not expecting our defense to give up 30 points to that Clemson team. I think it's going to be 24-20 type of game. And to your question, you go into SMU feeling iffy about that offense, unless you somehow manage to put it all together in that SMU game and score 90 points, you're going to go into Clemson probably feeling like it's an uphill battle to win that game, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
And that's kind of why if this game was later in the year, I feel a little more confident.
yeah.
Just for purposes of us, disagreeing on at least one of these games, I'm probably gonna just chalk it up as an L here because I have us losing one of the games between Clemson, Notre Dame, and Miami.
Yeah.
So I'll go with this one here.
That's a win for me because it's at home.
Mhm.
We'll get to we'll get to the one I don't really love, and it just happens to be the day before my wedding.
Oh my god, yeah. Well, yeah, folks, as you realize that Dave is a terrible person and is having us all go to see him get married during football season. But that's a discussion for a different day. As we
Yeah.
head to the bye week, hopefully we will win the bye because we don't lose buys anymore. And we
Nope.
will now go to Wallace Wade Stadium. Going to go to Duke on a Friday night. I don't like these Friday night games. I
Don't either.
simply do not, especially after a bye week. This has huge sleeper potential because the next game following that, before we get to that, Dave, Duke, do you feel they're going to be able to do anything? Mike Elko is gone. Manny Diaz actually might do something well there. He still has a solid roster. Riley Leonard is gone. Duke was a
Yeah.
tough team last season. But do you have any reason to be worried about the Duke team?
No. I mean, easy answer, no. They're going to have some confidence going into that game, I think, though, because listen to their schedule starting off:
Yeah.
Elon, Phoenix, Northwestern, UConn, Middle Tennessee. Then they play UNC and
Rivalry
Georgia
game.
Tech, and then they have a bye week before playing us. So
Oh, so we both got a bye week.
right, so they're going
Huh.
to be coming off a bye week also and refreshed, and they could easily be 5-1 going into that game. Even not even because they're just such an excellent team, but by virtue of who they're playing. And you're going to be confident if you're 5-1.
Mhm.
So I don't have a ton of worry without Riley Leonard there because look what happened when Riley Leonard came out of the game last year. That game was over. That moment, the moment Riley Leonard was out of that game, it was over. I expect that to be the result this time.
And I fully agree. I was actually at my friend's bachelor party. Shout out to my boy Cole Luthi. That was a tight game, but thankfully Riley Leonard, had to go somewhere else to be in. We were able to shut down. Now, probably the most important game of the year, probably heading into November for CFP bracket purposes, because Dave right now has them undefeated. As us undefeated, I have myself with the one loss of Clemson. It is the University of Coral Gables, aka Miami, aka Mario and the Krista Boys. So, Dave, this
Yeah.
game is down here in Miami, my neck of the woods. This team is extremely talented. This team has a quarterback in Cam Ward that you and I both said that we also would have loved to have here at Florida State. This is a really, really damn good quarterback. I
Yep.
wanted them since he was over at Incarnate Ward. Why should Florida State fans feel confident again heading into this game and keeping the streak alive?
Drake, do you like when we turn the ball over?
No, I hate it actually. It's probably
Makes
one
it
of the
hard.
worst things about the sport.
Makes it harder to win, right?
It makes it much harder to win. Ask me how I feel about that during NCAA because that's all I do.
There you go. And guess what Cam Ward loves doing, Drake?
Uh,
Loves putting
judging
that ball in the dirt or in the opponent's hands. So, why do I feel good about that game? Number one, I think we're going to get some easy turnovers in that game. Number two, and more importantly, they still have the same head coach. No one, and I mean no one, does less with more than little Mario. So I, I am just so not worried about that Miami team as long
Mhm.
as he is their coach. I understand they have a lot of talent on that team. They absolutely do. They stack up very well with Florida State's roster talent wise. I don't think there's many people in the country at this point who aren't fully convinced of Mike Norvell's status as an elite game planner, head coach, in-game coach, adjustment maker, knowing when to call the right plays and personnel. That couldn't possibly be less diametrically opposed to the Mario Cristobal experience. I have every confidence in the world that that gentleman is going to keep doing what he's always done and blow another big one.
I think Mario is probably the epitome of the phrase doing less with more, because this Miami team is probably the most talented in probably like what, a few years now at this point. Like as much as Cam Ward does have a turnover problem,
Yep.
but he's also equally dynamic. He can score a touchdown as easily as he's giving the ball away. He's
Sure.
also super fast. Their wide receivers are solid, dependable, fast. Their running backs with Damian Martinez, and I forgot the kid's name, the transfer. He's also extremely elite. And that defense is stout. That defensive coordinator also is going to be a really damn good head coach somewhere soon.
Uh,
But again, it does go down to X's and O's. And Miami, quite frankly, last year, I know everyone, was poo-pooing all over Tyler Van Dyke. But Tyler Van Dyke before Mario got there was a much different quarterback. He actually was a serviceable QB.
yeah.
And to me, this Miami team, they probably should have won 10 games last year if we're going to be completely fair here.
Yeah. And
This
then
time, this Miami team this year probably should do the same thing. But when you
shoulda, woulda,
have
coulda.
the lack of football IQ that Mark Cristobal has, someone that played football, by the
Yeah.
way, and he just can't get out of his own way, you can't put your money behind that person until he shows you he's a different person than who he really is.
Right.
So to me, this is a game. It's going to be close. It's going to be loud because every one of these Miami Florida State games is never a blowout unless you count the one where we beat you all to the dirt 2 years ago. But I digress. So to me,
Yep.
this is also a win. And now we'll be going from South Florida back to Tallahassee, and we will be welcoming in former FSU alumni, head coach Mac Brown, and the UNC Tar Heels, led by Max Johnson, who I'm still kind of shocked he's still in the league, but COVID, changed everything when it comes to how long players are playing and everything else. You also have Gene Chizik, who also recently got fired too. And now I think the offensive coordinator is Chip Lindsey. You got Jeff Collins or Geoff Collins, the former Georgia Tech head coach in his first year as defensive coordinator. Dave, this isn't the same team last year that I think a lot of people had like not unwarranted hopes, but strangely high aspirations for a UNC football team that, quite frankly, didn't put everything together. So with this UNC team, this is to me might not be an easy win because you're probably going to be having a little bit of a hangover after the Miami game, going down there, coming back up, and kind of get yourself back up. And also, you play Notre Dame the following week. Could this be a sleepy game for Mike Norvell and the boys?
Sure, it could be, but I am not overly worried about that game. Like, I just think your personnel match up so well. I don't think you have you don't have the Drake May show to worry about. So I think you can really let your defense pin their ears back in this one, and by then they should be in plenty of a rhythm. And it's just that isn't a game that I have listed and famous last words. I just don't have that game circled as one that I'm overly worried about. Here's an indicator of the current talent going into that program. Last year, 3 4 stars and 24 3 stars. I mean, that feels about right for what UNC should be doing. They've had a really nice run. They had Drake May as their quarterback. That was awesome for them. Um, I am very not worried about having to face Max Johnson at quarterback. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, yeah. If it was Rick May, I'd be more worried. But and also Tez Walker no longer is with the team. He's now in the NFL with the
Right.
Baltimore Ravens. So and to me, that defense always has been suspect for
Yep.
every single year. I don't think have ever been a good defensive team. They've always poor missing tackles, and that's something that I know Candace Cooper from Locked on ACC, formerly of Locked on ACC, used to always harp on when we were on the show together. So to me, this is a win, and it's a much needed win because the next game
Mm.
is a travel up to South Bend, Indiana, to go up against Marcus Freeman, who I don't know why people always are judging him. To me, he gets a little more judged harshly, even though last year
I
he
agree.
was a 10-3 squad. He brings in Mike Denbrock, the old offensive coordinator from LSU, who, I mean, if you don't remember from last season, Jane Daniels was the quarterback at LSU. Mike Denbrock was instrumental in having him take that next step.
Yep.
So this, and they also bring in Riley Leonard from the transfer portal. So this is a team that is going to be extremely good, and it's going to be a team that's definitely going to have probably an inside path to the CFP. And Dave, I think this is the game that you're probably the most worried about.
I'm definitely the most worried about this game. I think that's the most talented team on our schedule. I think it's the most competently coached um, team among the better teams on our schedule. Um, look, they've recruited better than us last year. That's a team that historically recruits extremely well and has, including over the last 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
They're extremely talented, equally to, if not more than, Florida State's current roster. And that team is coming off a bye week right before they play us. That's awfully convenient, Drake. And right after us, who do they play? Virginia. So they're in a part of their schedule. And before that, they play Navy, Georgia Tech, and Stanford. So they're going to have a few games to tune up and then a bye week to tune up right before playing us. That game is not a home game for us. I went to the last time we played.
Oh, we were there. It was so cold. It was deathly cold.
It was one of the worst experiences of my life, truly. I
Yes,
mean, I will say, not because of the Notre Dame fans. All great.
No, they were so nice. All those
so nice.
Food was great. The alcohol was flowing. It was just a fun time.
Right.
But it was so freaking cold.
Just the absolute worst. It's going to be, and that game's November 9th. It'll probably be snowing because, of course, it will.
That's when, I'm pretty sure I think that's when we went too. We went I think actually in November.
Yep. And it's just it's a level of cold you can't practice for. It's after we play North Carolina. We got a bye week after Notre Dame. I wish those two were flipped, but they're not. Look, can we beat that team? Absolutely. We're similar in terms of talent. I like our coaching equally to, if not more than theirs. It's really, really, really just going to come down to, I think, how much of a rhythm your offense is in by that point. I keep saying it's a repeating theme, but the reality is if your offense isn't in rhythm for that, you're going to lose that game. That's a team that you can't go out there and play your C game against offensively and still expect to win. So that's the key for me. I expect Norvell to call a good game always. So can DJU get it done?
So what do you think?
I don't like saying it. I think you probably dropped that game in a close one. And the good news is I don't think it matters anymore. Like, those late losses used to be absolute killers in college football in terms of your playoff chances. Obviously, it's expanded to 12 teams, but if you go into that game, what do I have? A 7-0? 8-0?
You have us winning every single game up until that point. So that would be, where's my
9-0?
mouse? 1, 2, 3, 4,
9-0.
5, 6, 7. Yeah.
Okay. You're going into that game 9-0, and in my book, and you leave it 9-1. You go out and beat Charleston Southern in Florida. You're 11-1, playing the ACC championship.
Well, we're just not going to overlook the fighting Charleston Southern, but
won't do it. We'll get there. But I'm saying that's a game that it's not a killer to lose. Not that you should be accepting losing any game, but at least it's a position where I would fully expect us to make the playoff. Even if we were to drop that game, you go on and handle your business. I'm not going to say I expect us to lose. I'm currently going to pick us to, subject to change. We'll see how things are going. But right now, that's our toughest game.
I mean, these are all subject to change, but I also do have this right now penciled in currently as an L because it is, over in Notre Dame.
Yep.
I mean, you take a lot of these kids and they've never seen snow before. They've never been in the cold. And anyone from down south and experiencing that kind of cold for the first time, it changes you and not for the better. It is shocking to the psyche. So to me, I have that as an L. So right now I have us at 8-2. You have us at 9-1. We'll go over Charleston Southern. That should be an easy dub. If we have a conversation about that game, then there's a lot worse problems to deal with.
Right.
So we have 9-2. You have a 10-1, and this will be the final game of the year. It is when Florida, Billy Napier, if he's still employed by the University of Florida, heading to Tallahassee. Thanksgiving weekend, rivalry weekend. This is a game where I think last year, I forgot the kid's name, Graham Mertz wasn't the quarterback. He had broken his ankle the week before. They had, I forgot the kid's name, already the backup. That's also when Tate Rodemaker as well played. To me, this is a game, it's going to be interesting. because I don't know whether or not Graham Mertz will still be starting quarterback at the time because he's coming back from an injury. I don't know whether Bill Napier will still be the head coach. I also don't know whether or not DJ Lagway, who the 5-star freshman, who I know he will give him flack for his throwing motion. The kid is an elite talent. That
Yeah.
kid's going to be really, really damn good. Now, granted, he is a freshman. A lot of kids, at that age don't acclimate to college football, like, within year one, even some generational talents. But to me, this is a game you kind of have to show up on them and show basically how Billy Napier is not like Mike Norvell, meaning that a lot of people are saying where Mike struggled his first, 1 to 2 to 3 seasons here, right? Sorry, his first 2 seasons here. And then now they're expecting the same kind of turnaround with Billy Napier actually at the helm at Florida. But to me, I think the similarities kind of end there because Mike was at a much tougher conference in the American. The recruiting, Billy's got some probably a little bit better recruiting chops, but they're definitely having misses, whether like overall on the trail. You also have a defensive coordinator who I think it was a really interesting hire to begin with, and I don't think he is all
Knows
that
what he's
good at his
doing?
job. I'm not going to go that far,
I
but
will.
yeah, you can just do it for me. But to me, this is where I have a feeling that Mike hates Florida more. And I don't know why. I think that he hates Florida. He maybe hate Florida Miami equally because probably there was stuff being said like, "Oh, he's going to be fired." Probably a lot of negative recruiting behind the scenes for the past few years, and now you see, fast forward 2 years. To me, this is a game where last year you probably should have beat them worse than you did,
Yeah.
and this is kind of a game where you need to really show up and show out with them, especially with recruiting. How we've been better, but after a 13-0, 13-1, 12-0. Sorry, 13-0, 13-1 season, you should be doing a little bit better, especially heading into early signing day. So to me, this is a game where you need to show up and show out, and I think you'll do just that with a home game against the Gators.
Okay, so I'll start this easy. That's a win. I I think what you said about Mike Norvell probably hating Florida a little more than Miami. Let me tell you why that's the case. Miami will never be relevant again ever in college football on a meaningful level. I'm dead serious. They will never compete again for a national championship ever. Florida will. I can tell you that right now. Florida is going to get better and they're going to compete for championships again because that is an elite coaching job and they have resources and a lot of money. So I expect them to be good again. And I don't feel that same threat when it comes to Miami. They'll probably not have sports again before they win anything that matters, or at least a football team. Florida, though, let me give you a little prediction for this game. I don't know whether Billy Boy is still going to be there, but I will tell you with 100% certainty, DJ Lagway will be starting that game. You are already seeing reports coming out that boosters are demanding playing time of DJ Lagway. Graham Mertz, I think, is fine.
To be fair, should they listen to boosters? Because if you saw what happened over at Auburn with the coup d'etat when they fired Gus Malzahn, I mean, are boosters? Should we give them that much power? That much leeway?
If he is as good as everyone seems to be saying he is, Lagway, that is, I think if you're at the end of the season and it's gone so poorly, which I think we all expected to with that schedule, not even because they're bad. They have
that schedule just sucks. It's not fair. Let's be real here. It's hard.
They're not going to have a bad record because they suck. They're going to have a bad record because their schedule sucks. So
you want me to just read it off just to laugh at them real quick? They open up at home against Miami, which I have Miami win that game personally because I think that's the one thing they'll be able to do. I know. They play Sanford, which is not giving me anymore because it's Sanford. I'm joking. But they play Texas A&M, Mississippi State. They have a bye week. UCF, who can be squirrely. They play Tennessee, Kentucky, who's ranked. Georgia. They're at Georgia, Jacksonville. They're at Texas. They have LSU at home. They have Ole Miss at home. And then they play us.
Oh, God.
That sucks, man.
Yeah, so, I mean, look, there's a legitimate chance that Billy Napier's the first coach fired this season and that he's not the coach by that game. But I think regardless, they're not going to be in a position to make the playoff, which means you're not going to have a ton to play for, which means I think you let it hang out there that game. You throw Lagway out there, see how he looks. If he pulls off the big upset, great, you ruined our season. Maybe you have something, maybe you know what you can see for the future. Get some good live reps in. I am fully expecting that to be a meaningless game to them and a meaningful game to us. which is always a dangerous spot, but it's at home. That defense was so hilariously bad last year. You legitimately could score 50 on them if your offense has a pulse for us. So I I fully expect that to be a win. The only worry I have is that they have so little to lose that they're running trick plays every other play and, just trying to go wild with it.
And folks, we hope you go wild with us this season on Noles Anonymous. We are so happy to be back. We'll be coming to you probably weekly. We're going to have some other folks coming on to give us their takes on their teams that they cover. But Dave, thank you so much for bringing this back. Please let the folks know how they can help and support us out.
Okay, well, you can find us. Well, you're already here probably on YouTube, Noles Anonymous. Please do like the video, subscribe, hit the little button dingy thing at the top. It'll tell you when our videos drop, which you do want to know, obviously. And I don't know, Drake's little Twitter handle is there. I have one, but I don't even know what it
Don't
is.
follow Dave. Dave's Twitter kind of sucks. But
Yeah, it does.
you know what doesn't suck, folks? You guys. Thank you guys each and every single day for making us, basically supporting us and just hanging out with us, talking about our favorite team, the Florida State Seminoles. But that was Dave. This was Drake. And we'll see y'all next time on Noles Anonymous. Take care, everybody.
Football this month.
Football this month. Let's ride.